Vanessa the Crafty Gemini. I post weekly videos right here on my YouTube channel, and in this video tutorial I'm going to teach you how to make these cute and easy quilted luggage tags. Alright, so let's go over the materials and supplies we need to make a little quilted luggage tag. This is a great scrap buster, so we're starting off with two pieces of fabric, one for the lining part and one for the outside that will be quilted. They both measure the same, 3 inches this way by 4.5 inches the other way. I have a piece of cotton batting here that measures a little bit bigger than the piece I'm going to quilt, which is going to be on the back side. Then you need a little piece of elastic that measures 5.5 inches in length, and I'm using 1/4 inch wide elastic here. The next thing we need is a piece of clear vinyl to make the pocket that we're going to use to put in our little address card, all right? And so for that, I cut out a little piece of vinyl that measures 2.5 inches by 3. Now this vinyl is sold at the sewing machines or shops or fabric stores and things like that, but if I'm working on a small project, you don't need to buy yardage. Instead, look around your house to see if you have these vinyl packagings that sheets and linens come in, and you can just cut a chunk off of there and use it to crank out a bunch of these luggage tags. Alright, so let's head over to the sewing machine. We have our fabric that we want on the back side and our piece of batting. We're just going to quilt it. And quilting simply means that we are going to stitch through the multiple layers. Now for this you can do free motion, zigzag, straight stitch, whatever you want to do. I'm just going to show you how you would do it. And so I just have the batting on the bottom side and stitch right through it in any design that you want. Now I already have one made here, so we're going to jump right into working with this one. So let's bring it over here. I've trimmed it back down to size. I've trimmed the batting all the way from the sides. So now again it measures the same size, 3 inches by 4.5 inches. Okay. Now we need to trim away the corners on this. Let's grab our ruler and a marking device of some kind. And we are going to measure from the top. Lay it so that it's vertically in front of you. And we're going to measure 1/2 inch in and 1 inch down. So 1/2 inch in and 1 inch down. And where those two intersections are, you're going to want to chop it. You can mark it all the way if it's going to be easier for you right there to see it. I'm just going to draw a little chalk line. You probably can't see it that well because these pieces are kind of small. But just to give you an idea, that's the little corner that you're trying to snip off, okay? Now to do the exact same thing on the opposite side, what I do is I just fold it in half. And I use that negative space, right, that's missing from there to be my guide. And now I have that done. And we're going to repeat that to the other one as well. You can lay them one on top of the other and use those missing spaces as your guides, because now you know that they're going to match up perfectly. Alright, so that's quite simple. We're going to put these two together now. And I am going to lay one on top of the other with pretty sides touching. And actually, let me go ahead and add the elastic here. You can sandwich it in as you go to stitch them together, but for beginners or if you're not too familiar with working with elastic, just go ahead and baste it into place. And that means I've taken my strip that measures about 5.5 inches in length. I'm folding it in half to create a loop here, and I want the edges to be nice and flat, one next to the other. And I'm going to lay it right in the middle of one of the sides. It doesn't matter which one. I tend to put it on this one just because it has the batting and it's a little bit bulkier. To find the center, just fold it in half this way and kind of just crease it and scratch it here. So you end up with a crease line. Luckily for me, it's right on that stitch line, so that's easy. And I'm just going to lay the ends of this sticking out a little bit past the end right in the center. Hold it with your fingers. There's no point in putting pins right now. Just hold it because it's such a small piece, and take it to the sewing machine, and I'm going to stitch real close to that top edge, about 1/8 of an inch or so away. And I'm just going to do that, have my finger on my back stitch so I can re-secure it back and forth a few times. Alright, so that's in place. Go ahead and trim away the excess elastic so you don't get too much bulk there. I just want to make sure that both ends were caught. Trim a little more. Alright, that's good. Now we're going to lay one on top of the other with pretty sides touching, and that elastic should look like that. The loop should be going down and sandwiched in between the layers. Let's grab our pins, and we're going to match up raw edges all around before sewing it. And as you can imagine, to flip this right side out, we need to leave an opening somewhere. And I always like to leave openings on a straight side. And for this project, the easiest place I think is going to be down here at the bottom. Let me put one more pin here. All right, so I'm going to start stitching right about where this pin is, back stitch to secure, come down, and I'm going to be pivoting on all the corners. Here, when I get to this angled top side here, angle it up, pivot there, here, here, and work my way all around and stop right around here and back stitch. So you don't have that much space to leave open here, but go ahead and leave about 1.5 inches open right here. So let's head over to the sewing machine, straight stitch, and I'm using a 1/4 inch seam allowance on my machine. Don't forget to back stitch at the beginning and end. And pivot on those corners. I stop with the needle down and pivot. Okay, so that's done. Now I'm going to go back and trim away some of the excess bulk off the sides and the corners. So when I turn it right side out, I can really get those points nice and crisp out of there. All right, let me get my turner here. Next thing we need to do is reach in here in between the 2 layers of fabric, and we're going to carefully, very carefully, flip this whole thing right side out. All right, so I run my finger all on the inside seams, and if you need help on any corners, you can use a chopstick or any type of blunt tip tool to help you get those corners and fabric out of the corners there. All right, so that looks good. Let me bring over my iron and ironing board, and I'm going to just turn the raw edges under at our opening and give it a good press. All right. Now we're almost done. The last thing we need to do to this is add our little vinyl pocket. And this is clear, so let me see if I can see it yet. These are it. So, all right, we have our quilted side on one side, and then on the opposite side is where we're going to attach our pocket. So at this point, I cut out this piece that measures 2.5 inches by 3 inches. I like to just put it on top and see if I need to trim any of it down to adjust, you know, for the seam allowances and how I stitch my luggage tag up. And I can see it's a little bit bigger on one side, so I'm just going to trim a little bit down. You don't want it to be too small. You still want it to reach all the ends because you're going to top stitch it right into position. All right, so I'm going to lay this right on top, and I'm going to head over to my sewing machine. If you feel like it's moving on you, feel free to put some clips. You definitely don't want to pin right through it because you'll bust a hole right in the vinyl, but just put a clip, a paper clip if you don't have these wonder clips. And now we're just going to top stitch on 3 sides. So I'm going to come here, back stitch to secure, down, pivoting on the corners, and up here, just enough to leave an opening for my address card. And now this part can be a little bit tricky depending on what sewing machine you have. I can sew on the vinyl with my regular universal foot that comes on the machine, but you want to check your user manual to see if you need to change to like a Teflon foot or some other type of foot that will help you stitch on vinyl. All right, so the luggage tag itself is done. Now for the little address card here, what I like to do is I just take an index card and I cut out a little piece at 2 inches by 3 inches, and I find that that size works really nicely as a little card to put inside my pocket, just like that. hope you all enjoyed it. I wanted to give thanks to Christina Camelli and her blog A Few Scraps for the inspiration for this tutorial, and thank my friend Beth who made all these super cute luggage tags so you all can see how much you can do with this really simple project. If you give this project a try, definitely take some pictures and upload them to social media, and don't forget to tag me because I love to see what you're making from my tutorials. If you enjoyed the video, hit it with that thumbs up below, share it across the different social media sites, and don't forget to click the subscribe button so you won't miss out on any of my future videos. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!